Arizona handles the division of property and divorce under the rules of community property. Community property essentially means that all property acquired during the marriage is joint property and to be divided by the court. That does not include property that's acquired by inheritance. So if your dad leaves you a $500,000, that's your sole and separate property. You get to keep that, as long as you don't do a few things with it, like commingle it with community property. So you never want to take an inheritance, for example, and stick it in your bank account with a bunch of community property of equal or greater value, because then it gets commingled and it's impossible for the court to decide which is the sole and separate, which is the community. But community property is the guiding light for all division of property in Arizona. Community property is defined in Arizona as all property acquired during the marriage. So, for example, if you buy a house during your marriage and it's only in the husband's name, that could be community property if it's paid for with community funds, which by definition it probably would be, because one of the interesting things about community property is all money earned during the marriage is defined as community property. So your job that you might work with, and had worked for 30 years, suddenly gets transmuted into community property as soon as you get married. The difference between community property and equitable distribution is not a whole lot. Equitable distribution, which non-community property states have, requires the court to divide property fairly, equitably. And that generally means that they're going to look to see, was it acquired during the marriage and how was it paid for, which is very similar to community property. Assets and debts in community property states like Arizona are generally divided 50-50 between the parties. If, for example, one of the spouses acquires a whole bunch of credit card debt, unbeknownst to the other spouse could be on the hook for half of that debt. It can be a very, very damaging situation if you don't know your finances. The examples of marital property are anything acquired during the marriage. A good example of this, if your spouse starts a business and incorporates it only under that spouse's name, if it was done during the marriage, even though your name doesn't appear on the business, you still own half of it. And you can acquire interest in business that was even acquired prior to marriage in Arizona, as long as the business was grown during the marriage. The spouse gets a portion of the growth in the business. For self-employed people, it can be a very damaging situation. It's very complicated too to divide those things.